want to be a part of this.
Yeah, I got to get back
yeah,
to it.
for sure, for
That
sure.
sounds amazing.
We were just talking with Heather J and Claire about a project that Heather did that we can't wait to see, which is a Barbie doll green screen soap opera made during the pandemic called Corona. And it sounds so great.
Can't wait. Really can't wait.
I was
living with a 4-year-old at the time. So
Sure.
hiding those Barbie dolls, because I was like, if she gets her hands on my Barbie, she's gonna mess them up. I'm not gonna use them. So I would have to hide. I hid these Barbie dolls from her, and I felt so bad. She never knew I literally had like 20 Barbie dolls under my bed. And I felt so bad.
What are you doing in there, Aunt Heather? What are you doing in there? Nothing. Get out of here.
So also, that's the book, The Barbie Dolls Under My Bed.
You know, exactly. So when I moved out, I bought her a Barbie doll just for like, I was like, because I kept saying, because I kept saying, I'm going to give her these when I'm done. Then I was like, no, I can't, because I might need season 2. So then I was like, I just buy her I bought her a Barbie doll before, and she never knew why. I was just like, I bought you a Barbie doll for no reason. Don't ask.
Because dolls might want reshoots, you know.
Because of my like lingering guilt from being selfish that you were completely unaware of the whole time, and would never have affected you in any way, but was really just eating away at me. Here's a Barbie doll.
Exactly. That's really what it was. Because I was like, if she ever finds out I have all these Barbies, she's going to lose it.
Okay. So I finished this soon enough to do a quick reread. And I'm so excited. Oh my God. And I want to tell everyone we're back with Heather J and Claire doing the follow-up book to Maybe Shorty Should Be a Detective, which I think we recorded back in August, because I remember we were all super hot. It was hot. We would go, oh, hey.
Wow, and, let me see that cover.
Yes,
yes.
Oh,
I love it. I don't think I saw that before.
Pretty.
Perfection.
So this one is called Mama's Baby. Baby's Mama. Oh my God.
Mama's Baby, Daddy's Murder.
That's right. Mama's Baby, Daddy's Murder. Oh my gosh. And as soon as she told us, because the first one, if you've read Maybe Shorty Should Be a Detective, you know that the end is a cliffhanger, and you're like, that bitch better be writing that next book right now.
Where is it?
Which is what Claire and I asked her very nicely.
Yeah, you did. You didn't call me a bitch. Thank you.
Right. We said, hey, we would really like it if there was another installment in this series, please.
Please share with us.
Please share with us.
The expected due date.
Yes, and it's so fun again all over. And the names, oh my God, I knew everybody in this book.
This cliffhanger is even more more crazy than the first one.
I want people to love Romeo. I really do. And I had
love
to make
Romeo's parents.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
They were in one scene and I was like, I hope there is a spinoff with more of Romeo's parents. They're the shit. What do they do on the weekends? I want to know.
It reminded me, I wrote them based on teachers I had when I went to Burton International, and I went to that really hippy dippy school with people from all over the world. And we had like the Iranian teacher and the German teacher, and they were just these really cool people. They were just great people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, I just want them to be really great people, because how else would you get a guy that's this altruistic? Because he's almost annoyingly good guy. You know what I mean?
I love that whole family because something tragic happened to them. That's why they're believable, because you get the little tiny sentence of tragic backstory, and we'll get into it. We'll get all into
that was going to be, that's like my first kind of comment about this one, both books, but this one more so because you do get to meet more characters for longer, that all of the characters are so rich and clear, and obviously, as you just said, because they're based on real people, that they really do have, like, in your mind, a whole life and a whole backstory. So
okay, so I'm going to catch up listeners. So Heather J is the author of both of these books, and it's a detective story about a family, the Frenches, and their neighborhood and their people in Detroit. And Chelsea is the main protagonist, Chelsea French. Her brother Carter, their mother Diane, has passed away, but she sort of still figures in the story, in the mood of the story. Their dad Ray has remarried a super rich woman, gone to Florida. All sorts of mixed feelings about that. in the first book, she's pregnant.
Like,
and
love him,
Rashad. Oh my God, what a crazy dude. He was that guy that I'd want to hang out with and then leave. Like, well, it was good to see him for 15 minutes.
Yeah, Rashad is a mess. Like, you're gonna have fun, but then something bad is gonna happen.
Yeah, you have like 3 glasses of champagne thrown at you, and like maybe you almost got hit by a sports car. Like,
you're like, did you just buy a shark?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But you don't own a home.
Yeah, he wants to own a pet cheetah or something.
Oh my God. So these
Rashad
characters
is the guy that doesn't have a house. He lives everywhere and he lives decadent, but he's not thought to buy a house yet. Like,
oh yeah. Oh my God. I wanted to talk about that conversation specifically in a minute. I want to catch the listeners up. So if you haven't read the first one yet, read it. It's such a quick read. You'll love it, and then you'll be ready for this next one. And in the first one, Chelsea is you're discovering that Chelsea has a knack for sort of solving crimes. She's sort of a natural detective, not a real detective. Her brother's a cop, but she is just doing her deal, and everybody's understanding that she kind of knows how to solve crimes. And it's this very rich cast of characters, and there a lot of people care about each other, and it's funny, and the dialogue's really good, and it's a page turner. And her baby daddy is in jail, and her brother is the cop that arrested him and put him in jail. Then there's a big cliffhanger, and now we're in the second book, and baby daddy's still in jail, and we meet new characters, and
she's trying to prove his innocence.
She's trying to prove his innocence. Yes. So, how is that as far as a catch up? Did I leave any?
So that the criminal Haitian family will not kill her and take her baby.
That's right.
Right. And that's the whole second book.
That is the reason why she is motivated to come out of her comfort zone and step into this.
Starts at their barbecue, basically.
Yeah, the family barbecue. And then you meet the Fontaine clan, and you kind of see how they came to be so horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that scene of Archangel bouncing the baby on his knee, and do you say it Doozy?
Yeah, Doozy. Yeah, it means number 2. Doozy means 2 in French. So that was kind of my way of letting you know that she was always second.
Oh my gosh. I was just like, I love this name, and I hope it's Doozy. I hope it's Doozy.
Yeah, it's
so
Doozy.
That scene where they're all there for his birthday and he's bouncing the baby, it's such a good mob scene.
Yeah.
Like in a movie where they're doing a very like sweet family thing, but also some shit is being murdered.
Yeah.
The voiceover is like, they were all murderers.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted them to be sinister. I needed to, or else why would you be afraid of them? If your brother's a cop, whoever scares the cop family has to be pretty bad, Mm-hmm. So I needed to make sure that they were very, and I saw a picture of this man, and he had this green suit on. I don't know who this man was. And he was a Haitian man, and I think he was in New York, and he had a green, like a frog green suit with a red shirt and a black tie. He had no socks and these like very expensive black shoes. And I was like, I want him to be, like I said, that's how I see Archangel. Like this really over the top, kind of insanely dressed man, but he's so confident with it, you would never question the fact that he has on a banana yellow suit. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, of course I do. I wanted clothes to play a big part of this story, because Detroit is a very fashionista place. And if you don't know that, if you don't know it, it's because you're not from here. If you walk through the city of Detroit for 2 days, you're going to see people who you wouldn't even expect to see in clothes, like, what's he doing with a Ferragamo belt on a bus? Because it's Detroit, you know what I mean? So yes. We're a very fashion rich community, and I wanted to kind of make sure everybody kind of had a sense of style, if that makes sense.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, well, the Detroit character comes through in that, like when you're talking about East versus West Side, like who's showy, who's the more like, we're gonna buy land before we buy a car.
Right. A Bentley.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know somebody with a Bentley. That's why it's funny, because it's like people are like, that's fake. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, he lives in it, but he's got a Bentley.
There's so many Bentleys in Detroit. Like, Detroit has Bentleys. Like, are you crazy?
Of course.
Well, Carter is known for his flamboyant dress as well.
I love
he's more Savile Row. He wants to be a little more tailored with his.
Yeah.
He takes pride in his Italian suits.
Yeah, he's talking about his tailored suits, and I'm like, I don't know what that name is, but okay.
Yeah. They sell it at Neiman Marcus though. Everything he has on is available. Because I was like, if somebody looks this up, I want them to see we sell it here. You know?
Yes.
We have it here.
I was wondering, just from like a comedic standpoint, how many different people tell him in this book to dress normal?
Right.
Do all the characters get a chance to tell him to dress normal?
Between book 1 and book 2, just about everyone has made a comment about his clothes. Just like, tone it down.
I love that. I have my first note, it says themes, and then it says stupid men with money and the women that part them from it. Is that an accurate theme to explore?
Yeah.
So talk amongst yourself about stupid men with money, because there's a lot of them in this book, and there's a lot of women messing with them.
I agree, because at the end you realize that Ray bought that car for himself and not for Chelsea, but some kind of way it's Chelsea's official car now, you know, and because I kind of explained, like, he made her buy that car for Chelsea because all the other kids got something, because Chelsea and Maddie don't like each other. Maddie didn't want to buy Chelsea anything, and he was like, get the car. And then you find out at the end, well, the car was really for him all along. So in book 3, we have Ray trying to get this car away from Chelsea, because it's like, it's not really suitable for a car seat, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was it. I made myself laugh with that one. Like, I think, because I was thinking about my own dad. I was like, there's no way my dad's giving me this car and not coming to get this car I know my dad. Like, if my dad would buy me a car like that, and then every day he'd find a reason to have to take, I gotta get an oil change, I gotta get the tires. Like, he would have a car every day.
And he's going to, like, just driving up and down the highways.
Oh yeah, my dad will move cars for 30 minutes every day just to be. Let me take it out. You're blocking me, you know, and be gone for 30 minutes.
I'm gonna start a car like this every day.
And so I was like, So I kind of thought that, and then Rashad is obviously a trick. Obviously, any woman can get anything out of Rashad. He's just so happy to be at the party, you know.
Oh yeah. He does something real dumb in the first book too, doesn't he?
He tries to buy a record studio.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
He wants to be a mogul.
That's right.
The whole record studio where she meets Lee B.
That's right, who comes back, and it took me a minute to remember that. Right.
Love interest. So it's like we were talking about Romeo at the beginning, right? Romeo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like high school boyfriend, kind of, or like early 20s boyfriend, maybe.
Yeah, Romeo met Chelsea when Carter first became a detective.
Okay.
And they went to the court, and the mom hooked up. The mom wanted Romeo, so she pulls Romeo into the family because on paper he's a perfect person.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to see that he's not perfect. He's, you know, he has some hoe ways. He is dismissive of women. And so I used Toddy to kind of show you why he really wasn't the perfect person that Diane thought he was. He wants to be that person though. That's what redeems him. He does want to be better. Yeah. But ultimately a handsome man that's an attorney in his 20s is not a good man. You know, of course he's a hoe. Of course, you know what I mean? He's not. He has too much. Sometimes a man can have too much going for him, and it makes him useless because he has too much. A man has to have a little. It has to be something wrong with a guy to keep him humble. You
I
can't be
know.
handsome and wealthy, and you can't be and smart, and
Yeah.
you can't be everything.
There's so
So
many. Yeah. If that is you, your best hope is that something horrible happened to you when you were like
exactly,
13.
you need
If
something to
you're a
ground
good
you,
looking,
right?
wealthy man in your 20s, your best hope is that you're something horrible happened in your childhood, so
Yeah,
you're not a dick.
your twin died. Your twin died when you were 12. Something.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's
You were
why
like,
when you see
yeah.
his parents are very like, shut up. Like, it's like, boy, bye. Whereas everybody else, when Romeo talks, they listen, they do. His father's like, go away. You know, like,
That's funny.
because
That's
somebody
funny.
needs to, there always has to be a counterbalance,
Yeah.
or else I worry that the audience will hate the person. And I think
Well-
that's what Romeo's not getting the love I thought he would get. And it's just, people are like, Romeo's kind of,
Oh no, see, I think Romeo
like, no.
is, I think, so here's what I think about Romeo, and it's the same for a lot of the characters. What I like about him is none of them are just flat, all one thing. Like even the Fontaines, they're not just
Yeah.
like, oh, they're mean. It's like, there they are, you know.
Yeah.
There's Ducey. She tried to get away from him, and they're having a
Yeah.
birthday party, and Lucian kind of is Chelsea's buddy, and you
Yeah.
know, like, so you don't hate them either. And Romeo, I do love Romeo, and he's just human. They're just humans, which
Mhm.
is awesome. Like even Ducey working at the grocery store, everybody working at the grocery store. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that because Ducey works there, right? And Chelsea works there, and Maddie used to work there, right?
Yeah, Maddie was everybody's boss.
Right, right. And then they
Yeah.
know other people from shopping there.
Yeah.
And I love that. And well, I just think that's great about all the characters is none of them are just one thing. Like this
Mhm.
person is just all good, or this person's just all bad, or this person's just all stupid. You know,
Mhm.
because even what I would call like Candace, so a big person in this I thought it was so interesting that Candace Kane is such a huge part of this book, and you really don't see her in real
Mhm.
life until the last little section, but you're forming all these opinions from everybody else's. And I wonder, as an author, how do you choose which characters are just going to step in and start talking right away, and that's how you know about them, and how do
Mhm.
you decide which ones other people describe? Is that just part of however the story gets told, or do you do it to give them some sort of power in the story? I thought about that a lot.
Well, Chelsea is very supposed to be, Sherlocky. And as was discussed in the hospital when everybody's trying to figure out who they are in this Sherlock dynamic.
Mhm.
And so
That was
Sherlock
hilarious.
has to have a Moriarty. And so I decided that Candace was going to be spoiler alert. I needed to develop a character who was also from the hood like Chelsea, also smart like Chelsea, who could foil or who could stump her, and she had to be kind of invisible.
Yeah.
I didn't because we already had the voice of the Fontaines. You know what I mean? So we had the dead voice of, we didn't, because I wrote a chapter for Boudreaux, and then I took it out. Where I actually explain where the baby came from in the chapter, and I think I'm just going to put it on the website as like a added bonus or something, because it wasn't really necessary to the story. It was just something it just came out or whatever.
Where the baby came from?
Yeah, the little baby, the baby that the Fontaines have, Lourdes.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I just figured it was somebody else's baby.
No, that's Boudreaux's baby. That's Boudreaux's baby.
Oh,
and
shit.
they didn't.
That did not even. I just figured it was one of the other kids' babies.
No, that's the baby that they didn't know he had until his funeral. So his baby mama shows up at the funeral and drops the baby on their lap like, this, she's yours, and walks away. And that's how they get this little girl in this all male family.
Oh
and
my God,
she's,
Claire, did you get this?
No.
Yeah, no, because I took the chapter out.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, I thought about it too. I was like, oh, whose baby is that? Is that, because I feel like different people are holding the baby.
Yeah, she's their baby. So that's why they all have her in different scenes. She's with Marin, she's with, and then you see how Marin uses her as a shield, because we can't forget that Marin is a evil person. and he's capable of horror. So he goes to the police station knowing you won't kill this baby. So that's why I brought this baby. You'll shoot me, you won't shoot her. You know what I mean? So just to show how he's still in his criminal mind, even though it's obvious that they adore this little girl, you know, so because she's the girl. And that's why Carter's like, she's not going to turn out well. This little girl's about to be running the heroin in Detroit. They can't raise a pretty little girl and she turn out okay.
Oh my God.
That was that. But I took the chapter out because it really didn't.
I'm looking forward to that bonus material.
Yeah.
So you wait a minute. You took the chapter out because it was too much.
It just didn't have anything to do with the story. Oh. It was a good chapter. It gave us a lot about. It told us a lot about Boudreaux, but it didn't. It didn't really. It had nothing to do with the story. It literally was just a scene at the funeral. And I felt like I let you know the family's already. I think I did a good job of letting you know that the family was kind of tired.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, if you'd have put that in there, I would have needed to know so much more. If you'd have left that in there, I'd been like, well, who's taking care of her? How'd that happen? Whose daughter is it? Who's the mother? Where's she? You know what I mean? I would have had you would have had to put 4 more chapters in, right? And it would have just completely. Because at first I was like, maybe it should be a prequel. Then I was like, no, I think I want to keep this little girl a mystery for now. I can always do that later because as I'm sure you figured out, the Fontaines are not going anywhere. So it's just like, we can deal with that maybe in the next Fontaine adventure, family adventure.
Yeah. Give it for the next book even.
So I'm gonna, we're coming into COVID for the next book. So it's been a challenge trying to, I had to, because, we didn't have COVID in book 2, even though I wrote it during COVID, because I was like, nah, I think I'm not ready for that yet. But now I don't think I can get away from it because now we're a year in. It's like COVID isn't going anywhere. So just trying to figure out how to get everybody working in this COVID post riot. I can stay away from the Donald Trump impeachment stuff, but I can't stay away from the protest over the summer, and I can't stay away from COVID. So got to figure out how to navigate.
You mean for put into the book purposes, really? Yeah.
So it just is what it is. So I'm not sure. I'm still kind of shaping. I got maybe the first quarter of the book done. So I'm still kind of shaping how that's going to look in terms of, does it make sense for Chelsea to be running the streets solving crimes in a pandemic? You know what I mean? It's already dangerous. Now you're going to add the pandemic on top of that when you have a little baby at home, so I was already conflicted about that. And my editor is just telling me that as a feminist, Chelsea has to keep working, even if she has a little baby. So,
well, and it will be interesting to see her solve problems and for the people around her to have opinions, because they're already a strong, opinionated group, and so they're all going to have strong opinions about a pandemic. Obviously, they're going to. So that's interesting because cops still have to be cops,
right? And the Detroit Police Department got hit really hard during the first wave. They had like 300 or 400 cases within the department. So, I mean, it's real. What happens when it comes close to Carter? What happens when Romeo's defendant might have it, or or one of Chelsea's co-workers or something. So, Lee B is traveling.
Who can keep the baby?
But I think you figured that out at the end of book 1. So, I mean, at the end of book 2. So.
Yes.
Interesting to me because for me, like, I guess it makes, in terms of like when I was thinking this was taking place, like, I guess it's now, but contemporarily, like, obviously there's all the technology and that kind of stuff, and the cars, and but for some reason, I think that's a really I don't know.
The timing hasn't mattered to me, I guess. It makes
me realize how real, like, the characters are for you. Like, that their universe is not totally fictionalized, which obviously it's not, but that's just, I've never really heard someone, I guess, talking about them writing their books and having to make that decision. I guess I'm, Yeah, I'm curious about that decision and what made you feel like they're not living in a reality that doesn't have to deal with the pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, it is
I went
fiction at
back
the
and
end of the day.
forth. Yeah, I definitely went back and forth a lot about whether or not they were going to live in a pandemic world, or whether or not this universe could exist outside. Book
Right.
2 obviously existed outside of it, but because Detroit is such a diverse and rich city, Detroit can't exist outside of it. So, and that was ultimately the decision. Like,
Mm,
so you got this, you got, like I said, you got 300 cops with COVID. Carter's a cop. So
yeah.
now I felt like we're diminishing the impact that the disease has had on the city.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm diminishing the impact that the George Floyd protests had on the city.
Right.
Because Detroit was one of the few cities in America that had a very peaceful protest, because of the fact that we are riot babies. We've seen what the riots and the burning up and things can do. So our riot looked very different than some of the other parts. And I feel like that needs to be applauded. And I can use my platform to speak to that. And because I wanted Detroit to be a character in this series.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not really for Chelsea and Carter and them. It's really more for the character that is Detroit. So
Yeah, and I guess you can do it without having to, you can pick and choose what realities are revealed. Like, you don't have to delve into like, how do people feel about the election, or how
yeah.
do people feel, like, you can be
So I'm staying
driven
away
with,
from that. I'm definitely
yeah,
going to stay away from the election, but I
yeah,
am going to, I have to look at all my characters and see what would my character be doing. Rashad would be the guy that's saying, it's a hoax. I'm going to keep partying. I'm going to Atlanta. I'll see y'all later. I'm not being bothered with COVID. You know, he would be that guy. And then Romeo would be the guy that gets tested every week. Romeo's the guy that's like, I get tested every week.
Yeah.
I get tested every week. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And then the rest of them will fall somewhere in between the two extremes. The two, you know, you got the one that's super, and then Lee B is the guy who's like, don't leave the house. You have a baby. I'll go to the grocery store for you. Wear your mask.
mhm,
You know,
mhm,
you're not solving crimes. You're not doing that or whatever,
yeah,
because Lee B is the guy Lee B was the person that didn't know Chelsea had the gift. He just met her and
mhm,
and found her fascinating. So he's not used to this. So that's actually
right.
part of the story arc of book 3, is him being
That's
like, I
interesting.
need you to sit down. Why do
Yeah,
I need you to sit down? You know, I
right,
mean, her being
right.
like, sit down. Everybody wanted me to stand up. Now I'm standing up and you're telling me to sit down.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I bet Maddie like a Karen? Is she like,
Maddie's definitely going to use her money to and her, you know, and her access to get the vaccine. Probably, I see
mhm,
Maddie having access to the vaccine before everybody else. But Maddie,
right.
at the end of book 2, you know, they decide to be closer to the
Yeah.
kids. So, I purchased a house for Maddie in Sherwood Forest that was $600,000, and she's going to be remodeling that. And if you remember
Oh,
from book 1, Maddie's remodeling taste is terrible.
yeah,
So
yeah,
she's going to be basically desecrating one of Detroit's oldest homes. Uh, and that's kind of her book 3 story arc. And in that way, they're closer, because Ray is realized that he abandoned his daughter and he's ready to step up and,
yeah,
you know, take care of his daughter. But, you know, it was
yeah.
a painful time for everyone. So I didn't want him to look like a cliche Black father. I needed people to understand it was pain. The grief just kind of tore the family apart for a minute. But
Yeah.
now they're so book 3 is, you know, them kind of trying to heal from that and be closer, and, you know, an effort.
I love the plane scene.
I did too.
I love the plane scene. There's a scene in the book where um, Ray and Maddie are flying back up to Michigan, and the baby is on the way, and they're having a conversation that is shocking the other passengers in the plane, but it's also perfectly outlining their relationship.
Yeah.
And it's kind of endearing because they're so real with each other. It's really, I loved that. I love that. There were so many great scenes here, Heather. Ah,
Yeah, so all of them didn't make the final cut. So if I did my read through or my editor, I say, what do you think of that? And she go, yeah, it's good, but it's not, it might, because you want a few red herrings in a mystery novel, but you don't want
mhm.
like that funeral scene, somebody might have thought it was a clue in there. It's like there wasn't a clue in there, it just. So yeah, that's the problem with mystery versus if this was just a more of a campy drama. I could maybe go down some different wormholes, but I don't want people to, because mystery lovers of mystery, that's the kind of stuff they'll email you for and cuss you out about. Like,
right. Oh, I was thinking about
they want it to be fair. They feel it has to be a fair. They want to be able to try to solve
Don't
it
lead me astray. Don't lead me astray. So I was thinking there were things that were said, and when they were said, I'm like, that is a clue. And one of them was the lawyer money twist. Oh, page 33. There's a hint when she's talking to James, or she's telling somebody the story about, like, well, if he was hooking up with somebody and had an alibi, why didn't you just get a lawyer and get him out? And she says, well, this woman, Terry Linden, or Terry, is it Terry Linden?
No, it's
Candace.
Oh no, her name was Lynn Dennis, but you don't know that at that point. The lawyer's name was Lynn Dennis.
Right. Was it Terry Lynn Dennis?
Yeah.
Lynn Dennis. Okay. So there's something about, this woman called, she offered, it was going to be $100,000. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I remember going like, yes. So, but
that's not how lawyers work, I don't think.
Well, if you're a Matlock fan, his retainer was $100,000. He wouldn't even touch your case. So the really, really good lawyers, they come in the door and like Snap said, they know you have it, Chelsea. So they're like, $100,000 retainer, I'll get your man out of jail. So it wasn't a far-fetched concept. She just wasn't gonna go. She was still adamantly against using Maddie's money. So she was like, no, no, it's not happening.
So I know, but you don't know what a close call it was until so much later in the book. I felt like the timing of that reveal of that phone call and who that was and how it all ties together, man, that timing was dope.
Thanks.
I was like, oh, I know what's happening. Oh my God.
I was super like, I have no idea. Like, definitely the Candace, something's going to happen with that, but I had no idea how.
Oh yeah. Well, it was so much more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Like, my little clue about maybe it wasn't Candace in some of the pictures, and maybe the texting and the stopping texting. So Candace is this suspect that first you meet as her
alibi. She was at the bar with
the
James.
alibi.
Yeah, she's the alibi.
Chelsea has to find out that her baby daddy, who's in jail, had this other woman who was a stripper named Candace Kane. Candy Kane. And she's dealing with that, and also realizing that he would rather protect that woman and have her as an alibi than be out and be with
his baby.
Her.
Yeah.
His baby. And so she's dealing with that, but also this woman is kind of suspect. And so they look her up on Instagram. She spends all night going through Instagram, and a lot of people mention, or it's mentioned several times, like, wow, she looks so different than this picture. These pictures look so different. Wow, she's really changed. She looks different. And I kept thinking, well, they've said that a few times now. I think there's something.
Well, honestly, that is a huge criticism that Black women get because of the weaves and everything. That you'll take her home one way and you'll wake up with a completely different woman. Like once she takes her wig off and once she takes her lashes off, you look different. So that's kind of a running gag in the Black community. Like make sure she looks the same way in the morning. So I knew that was when you say a stripper, and then her father kind of shows you this graduation picture of this nice girl, but then she, as a stripper, she's wigs and weaves and lashes and all this, and it's like, well, now she looks like a completely different person.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows you how her ability to kind of be a chameleon.
Yeah. Well,
which will be important later on,
So important. Yes. It serves two totally different purposes. Like the first purpose is just to get you going like, oh, women in Detroit, get that. They get it. And then the other thing is, oh, it could be easy to mistake one person for another, or to not recognize someone that you just saw because they look so drastically different in their fashion, their hair, or whatever. You just don't even recognize someone that you know. So both of those are plausible, but then it's totally necessary to believe that because of what happens later.
And I need, and for what can happen in the future. I need, like I said, I need her to be a master of disguise. You know what I mean? So she needs to be able to, I need her to be able to, because I haven't decided yet how, when we will see these people again, so I wanted to make sure I had an open palette so that I could bring whoever back, however I needed to, any way I wanted to. Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah. Claire, are you about to say something?
Maybe, but I was gonna say that her chameleonness also, that's part of her con too.
Yeah.
She, to her neighbor and to her dad, that she's a goody and
she's gonna be whoever she needs to be, to whoever she needs to be, and that's the that's a sign of a gifted grifter.
And
she conned Boudreaux Fontaine. She was good. She was good. That was the whole point. She was good.
She conned everybody.
I don't know how you guys felt about what is his name? What is the guy's name?
Sherrod. Will Hirsch.
The guy that had the long money. What's his name?
The guy that had the what? Will Hirsch.
Pretty man, or
no, the guy that was in the bar. The one that told
Handsome.
Nino Handsome.
Nino Handsome. That was pretty.
Nino Handsome.
He got Nino Handsome, and Nino Handsome wanted to kill somebody. So.
Oh my God.
And the thing is, I had a friend, and she was a very pretty girl, and she used to kind of, get men for money in a duplicitous manner. And I used to always tell her, like, you better be careful. You're gonna meet the wrong guy. He is going to strangle you. And it was like, because I knew there were guys like that. They'll get mad. They won't take it in stride because you're pretty. Yes. They will choke you out. And so I was like, I need her to have had some bad experiences with this. And then at the same time, we can reveal something, because you need the revelations to come from different sources, or else the readers will get boring. So
yeah.
I enjoy creating him, because he just I can see guys in Detroit that look like him, and
that was one of the more vivid, like, visual picture, like immediate visual pictures that you get, for sure.
You could just go into like a hood bar in Detroit, and I could be like, that's the Nino Handsome of this neighborhood.
I knew.
Like, don't ever cry. He's old and he looks like he's played out, but he has a pistol in every pocket of his suit. If you think he will not shoot you in 2.5 seconds, you are very naive.
Oh shit.
And we're going to be very respectful of him, and if we're nice, he'll be nice.
Bullet
he wears his life. You can see everything he's been through, and you just know he's not the one to mess with at all, ever.
So I think that this is her backstory, but because of all the people that she's conned. So just follow me here for a second. So Candace cons Will, her dad, James, Sherrod, Boudreaux, Nino Handsome, and the rest of the Fontaines, right? I mean,
and she got the Fontaines too. She got the whole family.
And Char. So she's like, she's the villain in this whole thing, and she's just laying low. Everybody's just talking about her. So what I was thinking is, like, she has her whole own series, right? She's like Jason Bourne.
Right, the misadventures.
This is just her backstory.
Right.
This is just the setup for the Candy Cane story.
Yeah, the story of Candy Cane.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of her story. Because think of all the
Candy Cane cons. I gotta get a drink.
Candy Cane cons.
That's hilarious. That's good. That's good.
Oh yeah. And so it was said very clearly, she recognized two things in men: stupid and money. Is that how that line goes? Stupid and money. And I was like, oh, I think I can see that too, but I don't use it for ill. Exactly. It's more like, when I see that, because I've been around women who recognize it and go right in. Do you know what I mean? They're like, well, I'm gonna get something out of this. You
Yeah.
know, like they'll do it. They'll do like, no, this man will buy us all dinner. He's done it before. Like I've had friends
Yeah.
when I visit them, they know that guy when they see him, like that guy wants nothing more than to buy us like the
Yep.
most expensive vodka here and
Right.
steaks. It will make him happy. It'll make us happy. We just got to do it, you know? So I know those people. I'm usually like, oh,
Right.
the most important thing about you is that you have money, and I don't care because
Right.
you're not interesting, and it's not working on me, right? So I can't take advantage of you.
But the women that can, they zero in on them, like the Bionic
Mhm.
Man, like do 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 do.
Yes.
And you have women that go for high stakes, like our Candace in the beginning when Theodric explains who she is. He's telling you,
Mhm.
did you
Oh,
buy the
that's
house?
so
Did she do your
good.
taxes? Did she? Because he knew her.
Yes.
He was like, I know exactly how she's cut. Because one
Page
thing about the
44.
right, because one thing about the hood is that we do protect our criminals. So we'll know that you're dirty, we'll know that you're horrible, and we'll still be like, but she's still a good person. And that was Theodric's whole thing. Like, you act like just because somebody is this, they can't be a good person too. And it was like, well,
Yeah.
no,
So
most people don't think they're good people.
yeah, she said, okay, so this page 44, it's one of my notes because I'm like, this is such a great reveal. Like you said, you
Mhm.
have other people reveal things about Candace, and I loved it so much. So, damn, Snap, she got you, huh? Got me what? She scammed you, sold you a credit card that didn't work, lifted some money out of your pocket, told you she was pregnant. You ain't let her do your taxes. You got audited? Did she take your car? Is that why it's not outside? You didn't buy one of them fake houses, did you? Theodric shook his head in sympathy. You really got to watch them pretty ones. Is she into all that? You just said she was cool people. Which is it? Both. She's a sweetheart. It's so great. And that's that great line. It's like, but she can smell two things on men, money and stupid. Don't turn your back on her. She'll steal your socks out of your shoes.
Yeah.
She'll steal your socks out of your shoes. So I'm like, damn, that's a description of somebody right there.
He
That's
told you
like,
everything you needed to know right there.
yes, I love it. He just laid it out, and you're like, okay, I guess we know who she is now.
You know who she, never forget who she is.
Oh my God, that is so fun. So in the last book, there wasn't really that singular villain, was there?
No, because that was when Chelsea was learning how to use her gift for good. So we had a series of short stories
Yes.
in the first small encounters in the first. And I regretted not having little Olive in book 2, but I felt like if there was a life and death situation, we'd want to protect the Aunt Grace and Olive the most.
Mhm.
Because I kind of went back and forth about that too, because I was like, I introduced Olive and she's not in book 2, because Olive and her little boyfriend, you know. So I'll
Mhm.
probably bring them back around in book 3 or whatever. But yeah, I had to make some decisions because I did want to flesh everyone out more. And I was like, this book will be 700 pages if everybody gets a chapter, you know what I mean? So I was like, I had to make some kind of tough cuts. And
Yeah.
so I had to kind of sacrifice. But the story of Olive and her boyfriend and the stolen merchandise and all that, that was pretty much just you learning how to see how Chelsea could deduce her deductive skills.
Mhm.
But there was no real, you know, at the end you get the, you know, you see when Luke pops up, you know, toward the end, it's like, okay, something's about to happen, because a family like the Fontaines is not going to let you kill their brother and not do anything to someone or
Mhm.
whatever. So they're just not. And James is the obvious choice, but based on, like she says to Archangel, I don't understand your math, but like, why would it ever have been me? But Ark wanted a replacement child, so because he's a maniac, you know. So
Son for a son.
Yeah, son for a son. So, and he didn't even know that Chelsea was having a boy, you know. So just like a baby for a baby, a kid for a kid. Yeah, it was a very sinister. And you could tell, like, if you know, you could tell I read a lot of comic books and stuff, because I like the idea of the heavies in the front and then the mastermind in the back.
Mhm.
I like the concept of a master plan, because I don't think the Detroit police would need Chelsea if they could figure it out themselves. These are for the more complicated human. You have to understand human nature, and Chelsea is definitely somebody that understands sees the evil in the hearts of men. So she can kind of see things. That's why she, you know, Romeo was like, let her talk, because Romeo sees the good and he can't see the evil. in the hearts of men. So he was very confused by her explaining everything that happened. I was like, okay, this give, because he's like, why would a person do that? And it's like, because it's jacked up world, crazy world, Romeo. You know what I'm saying? Everything isn't coming up roses. And that's why he was the one that was you know, and that's why he didn't think that Toddy would cheat on him, because he in his world that just wouldn't happen. He didn't, you know, even though she was beautiful, because Toddy is actually Romeo's counterpart.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. She's has a bunch of options just like him.
Yeah.
They were both the same person. They both cared about the law. They were both good people, but she could match him at his own game. And then he didn't like that. He didn't like it when she did what he did, what he was doing.
That's a fiery duo there.
Yeah.
Romeo and Tati. Like, I don't want them to end up together, but I do want to watch them have sex, I think.
And that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I said, she got to stick around for a little while longer.
Yeah, that dress taking off scene, that was
it was still PG.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah.
Just to show they're very sexual. Both of them are very sexual people. So
and it's that'd be a great.
But I love that about the Fontaines and their like particular brand of evil, because it's true, like, and they've done studies kind of on this kind of thing, like when something is either like, basically they do, I don't know why this is the association I made, but they do studies on like stress levels in bears, for example. And a bear will be good, like if the food supply is steady good, their stress they're like they're good. If the food level is if the food level is like constantly low, like it's higher, but it's consistent. If the food is like sometimes there, sometimes not there, like if it's really inconsistent, then actually with like any kind of nourishment, like as a kid, if your parents are always bad or always good, but if they're like sometimes, if you don't know what's gonna happen, the stress, the anxiety, not knowing what to expect, and that it like gives them that extra edge of evil, because that arbitrariness of like, you don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. It's, you know, they're not gonna kill the guy who killed their son. They're gonna try and inflict a similar pain on him, taking his son away from them. So I just.
But they said the father's evil. That's what they said. Like he's gonna cut off your finger till he gets his money. He's gonna take a finger,
criminal mind,
and be out.
Logic. Yeah.
And there was my friend. Her name is Terry Lynn. Because everybody's named after somebody.
It was awesome.
She's like one of my best friends, and she's a very, very, very intelligent woman. I love talking to her, and that's why I gave her the name. And she comes from a really big family. Like, she's one of those people that have like 10 aunts and uncles. And so I was always jealous of those people growing up. Like, they had because I had a little tiny family. So people that, I got 27,000 cousins and stuff. I'm like, I'm so jealous. And she came from one of those big families, and it's predominantly men in her family. I think she's got like 8 uncles, and they're all musicians, but they were raised in the streets. And she'll tell you a story in passing. You know how people will tell you a story, but they don't expect you to be shocked because it's normal to them because they were raised in it. But you're over there like, woo! She'll tell the story, and she'll be like, yeah. So then my uncle Frank beat him up. And then we went to the movies. Like, wait, what? Your uncle Frank? What? And she'll be like, oh yeah, no, Frank don't play that. If you say something disrespectful, then all my uncles are gonna beat you up. And then whatever. And it was like, that's the way they were raised by their mother and father. So when she'll tell these stories, I'll be like, your uncles are fascinating men. But they were raised by their mother, who was a very, very, very good woman. And when she passed away, she was one of those like matriarchs of the neighborhood. She fed people, she gave people money. So everybody loved her. She had this really good heart. So she raised her sons to be tough, but she also infused so much love into them. They temper it with love. So I looked at her family and I said, what if they were raised by the father instead of the mother? And instead of tempering that with love, it was tempered with hate. What would you get? So the Fontaines are like the bizarro Terry Lynn's uncles. They all play instruments. They're all they have a loving dynamic amongst themselves, but it's a more sinister response trigger. Whereas Terry Lynn's family is they're going to beat you up if you're wrong. They have a real interesting sense of justice in that family, which I
Yeah,
found
well, and
utterly
that's how they
fascinating.
work things out. Like
Right.
brothers
If
fight. I've known a lot of brothers that fight. Yeah.
If Terry Lynn's uncles come for you, you did something wrong to someone. It was in the defense of other. They're almost like hood superheroes. And I was like, now what if you flip that and they were not in the right? It was not a righteous kill, but there's still like a sense of morality there, which is why they intervene and go, wait a minute, we can't do this to Chelsea unless this man is truly the guilty party. If he's not guilty, we can't do this. So we got to make sure, or whatever. And then that's where Luke comes in. Like my experience with Chelsea is she's never wrong. So that was enough for Luke to be like, wait a minute, Chelsea's not wrong.
Yeah, this is one thing I love about the richness of the characters and the Fontaines, getting to know the Fontaines. I love watching mob movies and stuff like that. And I realize it's because it's not the moments when they're being mobsters that make them interesting. It's when they're talking about the type of gravy they like on the pasta, or they're like playing with the cat, and you're like, oh, that's what makes it interesting. And so the thinking about the family is just like somebody who sits next to somebody in math class, and not just murderers who are out to kill a baby, but thinking of them as, you know what I mean? Giving them little interactions like Ducey working at the grocery store. Like that makes it roots it in such a just humble reality, and doesn't
and her not talking to Chelsea because she knew what was about to happen.
She knew it was about to happen.
Yeah. And
she also is such an interesting, conflicted woman.
Yeah, she is.
She's trying to get away and she can't. And she's like, anyway.
And she likes Chelsea.
Yes.
Because in book one, I don't know if you remember this, but in book one, when Chelsea gets to work late and the owner's son is giving her grief, Doozy's the one that defends her. Doozy's the one that's like, shut up and leave Chelsea alone. That was Doozy. I don't
remember that.
Yeah, that was Doozy.
Oh. Well, okay. So the thing you were saying a minute ago about letting one person characterize another person, and then we talked about the one that was like, that was all you need to know. What Theodric said was just totally described Candace Cain. And then when we keep hearing about
I believe they call that foreshadowing
on page 77. So Lee B is hanging out with Chelsea, and they're talking about, oh, I thought the Fontaines were over only on our side. No, we know them on our side too. Yeah, they run shit everywhere, and they're having this conversation, and she's saying, well, I know they're everywhere, but Boudreaux is the only one people seem to hate. And Lee B says he was loud, obnoxious, and cruel. One time I was at Wolfgang Puck's inside of MGM. Boo came in with his entourage. He just lost a bundle at the craps tables. He kept raising his voice to the waitress, called her a few names, complained about everything on the table, then left without paying. The whole restaurant was tense. He upset everyone. That was my only personal story, but he was a bully and an ass everywhere he went. And I realized that one paragraph, I'm like, I get it. I know that asshole. I've seen him. I've accidentally been at a table with him, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know this guy was such a dick. Right.
Everybody apologizing to him, right?
Yes, it's such a great story because everybody goes, I know that asshole.
Yeah.
Well,
so basically anybody could have wanted to kill Boo. Boo was horrible.
Yeah.
So anybody is he has a million suspects. And that was the purpose of Lee B saying that, like, how would you know where to begin? Everybody hated this guy.
Yeah. Anybody that met him. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, if you ever met him,
in the lineup.
Have you met him? Yeah, like what I was gonna say was that the family kind of talks about how he's persona non grata, but there's not a ton of specifics. Then when you see that scene, you're really just like, oh yeah,
because the others seem to be a little more focused. Which was the purpose of that first chapter, saying Boo was kind of the wild child. Everybody else knew their role in the family. Yeah. And Boo was just benefiting off of the work the others did. He knew nobody would bother him, except for obviously Nino Handsome, who was not afraid of the Fontaines. So, because he's a monster too, so he wasn't afraid. Yeah, Nino Handsome, anything but. So that was the kind of purpose of, because even if you're in the streets, if you're on the block, it's people like my parents would have been like, oh my God, the drug dealers, go in the house, lock the doors. But there was always a family that was like, I wish they would come over here. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's not afraid. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
you kind of see the
It's like the ice
dynamic
cream
of the
man.
streets.
It's like
Right.
the ice cream man. You're like, hey, where you guys been?
Why is everybody scared of those guys? So there's always those, it's degrees of evil
Right.
in these kind of dynamics. And it's other people that live like them aren't afraid of them. Because even the East Side Gunston boys weren't afraid. They should have been, but they weren't. You know what I mean? So, or else they would have never stolen from Ark if they were afraid. You know, so they were like, we're good, whatever, what's he gonna do? And then it was like, then when it all went left, it was like, oh, okay, you know, and that's just the truth of people that live that kind of life. They can't do what they do and be afraid. So they're kind of fearless. And that's why a lot of them die, because they're thinking nothing bad can happen to them. And then,
or that they're,
you know, whatever.
they're already prepared to die.
Yeah, they're not, and that's honestly, as the scariest person in the world is somebody that's not afraid to die, because that's a person that will do anything. They'll do anything, and that exists in all cultures. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, we just saw some of that. Some people who are
you know,
dying in the fucking revolution.
You know, in the failed revolution. The other revolutions were successful. This one failed.
So in case, okay, it's January 2021. The last time the three of us were together was August 2020, and we thought things were crazy then.
I know, right?
We hadn't even had an election yet. So since we talked, Claire and I went through Croptober together.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Harvested a whole shitload of cannabis together. It was intense. And then
so long ago.
It seems like so long ago, but it was just October. But it was like, whew. And then holidays-ish.
Yeah.
You know, like, what
Zoom
was that
Christmas.
even?
Zoom Christmas.
Yeah. We canceled Christmas. So that happened. We're still basically in lockdown. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. There was a coup about a week ago.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd see 2 coups before 35.
Right. May you be blessed to live in interesting times, they say, and I say, I am blessed.
Well, we saw a lot of things before 35. We saw 2 coups. We saw airplanes flying in buildings and the Pentagon. You know, we saw an evil threat from a foreign land, and then we saw domestic threats. And 35, we saw Timothy McVeigh. You know what I mean? So some of this is like, I think it just happened so far apart. We're like shocked again. It's like, really?
I think once you get to be about my age, but too. I think about like, the other night I was watching Bridgerton. Have y'all seen Bridgerton?
Yeah. Now that was some good sex scenes.
So yeah. So you know, you watch Bridgerton, or you watch Outlander, or you watch Game of Thrones. You watch anything, right? And you go, oh, this is a story about these prideful men who made up these terrible systems where half of the civilization gets fucked, and then also there's these cool costumes and war, but like every story is like that. And after a while you're kind of like, oh, nothing is unique. Do you know what I mean? Nothing is unique. Oh my gosh, this is an unprecedented event. It's like, really? Because do you remember how our country was founded? We were like the just horrible people that Britain didn't want for a while. We were just like, you could either go to prison here,
or you can go to the
America. Right. And then just go there and kill each other and starve, and like,
and then the Americans started getting smart, like, hey, we don't need you. And it was like, wait a minute, you guys are supposed to be the losers. You were supposed to be the people that would follow the country.
One.
Yeah.
We're gonna do even more horrible things.
We're gonna write a Magna Carta. I didn't know you guys could write like this. We'd have kept you over here if we knew you was this. Benjamin Franklin should have stayed with us.
We just discovered educating ourselves.
Do you know he invented electricity over there? We should have kept him over here with us. That should have been a British discovery.
We've got corn now and tobacco.
Right. We got corn and tobacco.
And some potatoes. Some of us still have teeth. We're going to be a mighty nation.
So much sugar.
We'll be fine.
Right,
We're
we got
gonna be-
coffee and sugar now, but they were like, it's not tea, but it's coffee, it's brown, it's better.
Do y'all ever listen to the Dollop, the podcast, the Dollop?
Mm-mm.
It's a
What's it
really
about?
long running history podcast. It's two improv dudes, and one guy does all the research and tells a story from history, and the other guy has no idea what he's going to talk about, but just kind of improvs and makes fun, and they're really great. It's been on for a long time. But they just tell stories from history that you cannot believe. And the one I'm from South Carolina. The one that they had on today was sort of like how the Carolinas came to be. And it really was just like the rejects of the universe, just sleeping with pigs in swamps. Just, yeah, it's hilarious. So it's funny because we're so proud to be Americans. It's really hilarious.
What I found really interesting.
Our Patriots sample from last week just reminds you that we are indeed those people that were kicked out of another country.
I liked about the whole thing, I don't know if I'm going to write about it or do a joke about it. I don't know. I don't really do political humor on stage.
Right,
I'm
me
kind of,
neither,
kind of party and bullshit, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's hilarious to me that after post coup commentary from Black people has been so patriotic that it's making me laugh. Just like seeing like the guy on the corner that's like, no man, that's treason. No, you can't just be running up in the center of democracy, dog. And it's like now you're a patriot. And I think we had it in us the whole time. We just have had such a difficult relationship with this country that we didn't know. Yes. We didn't know everything we knew until this week. We're like, wait a minute, that's sedition. You know what I mean? Wait a minute. That's what Benedict Arnold did. You know what I mean? Like, you're remembering like every civics lesson you ever took. And so I just think the emergence of Black patriotism is, I know it's not funny, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Because this guy was on CNN and he was like, everybody forgets Black people were here from the beginning. Like, we know everything everybody else knows. It's like, yeah, we were here from the beginning. He's like, we built the country too. Like, yeah, we did build the country too. It's just we have had such an adversarial relationship with the political system. It's like we forget. Like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah,
we can't do that or whatever. Like,
I realized
terrorism.
I realized I listened to the proceedings. And after the third or fourth time somebody says the gentleman or gentle lady yields, I can't stop laughing. Like every time they say the gentle lady, I'm like I can't take it seriously. It's like, really, we're gentlemen now?
Yeah.
That's who we are. Do you guys just say that because you can't like bump chests or like what are we doing here? The gentleman, it's like
the gentleman,
How do you guys all keep a straight face when they're like, I yield to this gentle lady? Really? That's how we're talking? 2021? Really? Do you guys have capes in there?
That shows you just how much the British really did influence our speech, because we still do. When we want to speak eloquently, we immediately become British. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
This gentle frau, you know what I mean? It's like it becomes like, what are you? Scribes and citizens. You know, like,
and it just reminds everybody in the world that the British are like, ugh, America.
Right.
Like,
we are so sorry we birthed that baby. That's so the baby we should have drowned.
They went away. Thanksgiving for us. Am I right?
I feel like in the early days of the country, like maybe within 100 years of the birth of the nation, when the wound with England was still really fresh, I just feel like they were so embarrassed by us. It's like we were like the kid that was born empty. You know what I mean? Like compared to like India and Australia, we were just like, oh God,
Spain
the American child.
Spain was going, how are the colonies faring? Right. You're like, I don't even want to talk about it.
You know, like if you think about it, the fact that the French had so much of that area between Louisiana, parts of Canada, Michigan, and they were just like, even though they fought for Michigan, but it was just like, we don't even want to be surrounded by you guys. Let's go ahead and take, we don't even want to be around you guys, because Louisiana was run completely different than the other colonies.
Give me like $80.
Yeah, it's like, what you got in your pocket?
You have all this.
And it's funny to me to see the influence, like if you look at the way Quebec is, and if you look at the Louisiana culture beyond the politics, you could just tell that back in the day before the purchase, it was just like the Louisianans probably hated to see South Carolina, Georgia coming. Like, what are you doing here? We hate you. You're dirty. You're uncouth. You don't know how to talk.
Oh my
you have
gosh.
slaves. Oh my God, you still have slaves.
Oh
who
my gosh.
still has slaves?
So this topic we're having so much fun with right now is the coup that happened and the second impeachment of President Trump. And then we had an election. We elected Joe Biden, but part of the country doesn't believe it, even though there's been like 95 lawsuits overturned. And even though all the election officials are like, yeah, we counted it, it's fine.
And recounted it and counted it again.
So also our president called the Secretary of State or something in Georgia and just sort of asked him to just change the vote. He just had a big old recorded conversation. Our president, the president of our country, called him and was like, you know what? Just change it. Everybody
do what you got to do.
This exact amount of votes.
That wasn't the craziest thing that happened in the last 14 days. I was reeling from that crazy when the next wave of crazy started.
It's terrifying to know what's coming next.
And I'm just cracking up because like what I've had to like just remember, and watching period dramas helps, is that shit's fucked up. You know what I mean?
Always has been.
There's always a hurricane, there's always a fire, there's a disease, there's an overthrow, there's too many rats, the electricity's out. You know what I mean? Like shit is happening. A whole bunch of people that were rich realized that their investor took all their money. A major company was lying about baby products. We're at war again. Like the shit's always happening. So I have to remind myself, we were talking about this, a few of us the other night. There was a person in my life and I've kind of had to just draw a little boundary, I could work on things with you, but I just don't have the energy right now. I can't handle your energy and I've got to manage my energy. And I'm realizing when so many things are happening, the most important thing I have to do is like manage my mental and spiritual well-being, because otherwise it just starts to feel like, I think things are too crazy right now. Have they ever been this crazy? Are we going to be okay? So I have to like cut that off and say, you know what? I'm going to read some great books with friends and I'm going to think of a new kind of pie I want to try to make. And, I really have to be super intentional about keeping my center okay.
Right. Your mental health intact. That's true.
Yes.
You know what I think is also funny, and I'm going to leave these jokes to the political guys, the political comics. But on the one hand, they said that there were congressmen giving tours to people before the coup.
Yeah.
But we gotta stop calling it a coup. It wasn't a coup. It was a failed coup. Coups are successful. Okay.
Right. That's true. That's true. It was a
failed coup. Yeah. So they were saying that there's this one congresswoman, and I watched the video, and she was like, I feel like the congressmen that were giving tours the week before should be also questioned and determined whether or not they were complicit in this attack. And the reason that they knew that people were part of the tour were also part of the attempted overthrow was because the Capitol building has its own cellular network underground, because it has to be hack proof or whatever.
Yeah.
So they have their own network, if that makes sense, their own tower. Mm-hmm. It records every cell phone that walks through the door. So on the one hand, okay, this congressman is going to give a tour to this guy who's going to come back next week and attempt a coup. On the other hand, nobody knew the phones were being recorded. You know what I mean? So it's such a stupidity to the attack. Like,
yeah.
Well, how come nobody told y'all the phones was being recorded? Because then you could have left your phones in your car. Like you guys all had your phones in your pockets. That's why the FBI is finding you in a day, because also, they have your phone. They're tracking your phone. That's why they're taking you off planes, because they know you're on the plane, because they're tracking your phone.
Yeah, but
because
also
they recorded your phone and nobody told you. was just
Yeah, and also because you're like, hey, my name's Dan, I'm breaking into the Capitol. I'm from Texas. Like, it's because they're not good criminals, even.
Because I mean, they're trying to say, well, this is a mastermind, and they were, they've been planning this for weeks. I'm like, but yet they didn't say the very simple, leave your phone in the car. Like, if I'm planning a heist, I'm gonna say Ocean's 11. George Clooney said, turn your phones off. So I'm just like, how much planning really went into this when literally that's how the people that we saw in the films, we know they were identified. The internet identified them the same day, the internet police or whatever. But the people that were quiet, the people that didn't make a ruckus, the people that weren't in the video, they're getting picked up too, because we recorded your phone when you. It's just like, how is this?
Oh my God!
Who planned this? Wile E. Coyote? Like, who
Heather's
planned this?
like, Heather's upset. Like,
when they told me, I was like, you mean to tell me? Mystery crime is my beat. You mean to tell me that you went in and they recorded your cellular phone, and then you proceeded to act the fool and thought they weren't gonna come get you? I don't know.
Taping yourself committing felonies, not.
Oh, I would be a great criminal. There's no doubt. I grew up on I grew up on Murder, She Wrote. I'll be fine. I grew up on Columbo reruns. I'll be fine.
There's a lady on Facebook that somebody, she's going like, so and so picked up the podium, so and so took this, I took some papers. And people were just like, and her name is there, her name is here. And people were like, oh, Jane, honey, you just confessed to a felony. Oh, poor Jane. What a dumbass you are.
Right.
People are just saying, like, because she's just confessing, and here's why. Because people are used to doing shitty things without repercussions.
100%.
Yeah.
People who've never had repercussions.
White people,
or anyone who's never had repercussions. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know everybody in the world that doesn't have repercussions, but some people have never gotten their hand slapped or their ass kicked or humiliated, and they've never had it happen. And so it's very surprising. They have not had their ass kicked for being assholes before, and they're very surprised right now.
Well, the thing is, had they been successful, and this is another thing that irritated me, I was like, this plan was not well thought out. An overthrow.
Heather's really disappointed in the planning.
In the planning. I'm just like, who put this plan together? The plan. Okay, so usually when there's an overthrow, you're moving the current administration. So if you look at like the French administration, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the American Revolution, they resulted in a new country. So you went from France, the monarchy, to France, the republic. You went from America, the colony, to America, the country, or America, the colony, to America, the country. So it was like, what were you gonna do? Turn the DC into the republic of what? Like, what were you? Because there was no way that the only way that you're not guilty of treason is if you form law, a new government in which you are now a citizen that pardons you for those crimes. That's what George Washington did. He didn't overthrow the king and then go, okay, but we're still British citizens. No, they're done with England after they killed redcoats.
I think it was going to be the Republic of Potato Skins with Ranch.
Yeah. What was it going to be? NASCAR, the Republic of NASCAR? Like,
the Republic of NASCAR with a side of potato skins with ranch. Which sounds great right now.
Because there's no way you're not guilty as long as you maintain your American citizenship. You would have to expatriate. You know what I mean? And I was just like, who? You thought you were just going to take over the Capitol building and turn it into its own land? What did you think you that was going to be the country, was going to be the Capitol building? Because as soon as you came back outside, you were going to be the American.
Really thought, because there were so many military people, I think that they legitimately thought that they would be able to kill enough lawmakers, turn the election over so that Trump was still in power and he would have there is this fantasy of it.
That's not a coup though. That's not a coup. A coup is an overthrow. You know what I mean? That means the government's gone. We build a new government. So
like that is basically, so I lived in Egypt when the coup happened in Egypt in 2013.
Exactly.
And the military unseated the president, and then the head of the military took over as the president. Well, he got voted in.
Yeah.
So like he had the military on his side. So I think because there were so many cops and military people, and now they're finding all of these military people who are being put on, like, I don't know if probation is the right word, but they're being investigated for sure for having even just sympathies for, even if they had posted on Facebook or Twitter, like, go, you know,
Yeah.
buddies at the Capitol or whatever, like, I
Right.
wish they could be there or whatever.
Yeah.
They're, you know, and I think that in their heads, they were gonna they were taking over the government, that they were gonna give the power back to Trump, who has control over the military. And then, yeah, I mean,
there was no way that was still going to be the United States of America when they were done, though, because that's not what we do in the United States of America. So in order for that to have been effective, right, Trump would have had to institute new laws, which he can't do unless he passes them through Congress. So it's like, no matter how this plays out,
they did not think it through.
They did not think this through. They just
didn't think it through. So, they thought they were a movie or a video game. They thought they were a movie or a video game. They thought this was going to be their, like, and then we won, even though we were unprepared, even though we were stupid,
even though our cell phones are recorded.
Yeah. Even though, like, no.
Even though they have all of our, the FBI has all of our phone numbers now.
But they were just gonna kill all the Democratic Congress people and senators. That's what they're.
Now I do think that was probably more than likely with zip ties and all that. But
yeah, I've seen lists
it just wasn't.
Of them. They're like, oh, this is the Muslim one. This guy is good. This guy's bad. And with like Ted Cruz's phone number on a piece of paper. Did you guys see that one?
No, I didn't see that. I did see OJ.
Like
I did see OJ's video.
In this guy's van, the guy who had like 17 Molotov cocktails, they also found a list of phone numbers, and Ted Cruz's phone number is like one of the office phone numbers is among this list of phone numbers that this.
I definitely think that the lawmakers should be concerned. But if the History Channel has a website where they list all the times that the White House was attacked, basically. Most of them we never heard about because it just wasn't newsworthy, because it was handled so quickly. Most of them, I want to say 90% of them were ex-military, and they were disgruntled veterans and PTSD and mental illness, and they stormed the White House alone. It's just that it got shut down so quick because there was only one person. So there definitely is something to this whole ex-military coming back and hating the government. Which is sympathetic, because I think we can all understand why ex-military would hate the government. But for them to all come together like this is just where it gets like, oh, concern.
Yeah. So we all needed to talk about that. We all needed to talk about that.
Did you guys see OJ's video? OJ did a video about about the riot at the Capitol. Like, he was just like, hey, so what's going on? And where was so-and-so? And where was this person? And everybody was like, wow, if you agree with OJ, you know the world crazy. Because everything he said was right. He wasn't wrong what he said. It's just that it was like, a party's like, OJ, we can't agree with nothing you say. You kill people.
Oh my God.
We can't. You're right. Well, we can't really agree with you because you out.
On this other podcast that I do sometimes called Jazz Cabbage Cafe, one of the questions we went around and asked everybody was like, is now the time, since things are already in a radical state, do we keep demanding, like, it's not okay, let's just let everything settle down? And it's like, no, let's go ahead and get universal health care, let's decriminalize cannabis, let's go, you know, let's change the laws that make you have to jump through hoops to do everything, you know, let's go, let's keep it going. I don't want to, you know, on one hand, impeaching Trump seems to make sense just because it's official. You know,
so he can't run for office again, so he doesn't get.
But on the other hand, I don't want it to consume lawmakers, because it's like, then we're still talking about him for so long. I'm just over it. I want everybody.
So wait, he doesn't get Secret Service now? Is that what he doesn't get retirement benefits?
There's
trial, and then they vote again. Then the Senate votes whether to convict after the trial.
Yeah.
So I mean, 100%. They gotta I mean, not they have to go to trial now because the Congress voted for
Well,
it.
he had already
Yeah.
passed on the salary, so I don't think the financial benefits are he's going to care about them.
No,
I
but
don't think he's going to care about the Secret
it's the
Service either.
Secret Service
Yeah.
detail and
What's really
Because I mean,
interesting
but he's
is,
a millionaire.
so,
He can pay for his own private security detail. Like, he doesn't need. Like, I don't think
yeah.
that's gonna.
Well, let me just say for listeners that it is January 14th right now.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So when this comes out, it's probably going to be post inauguration,
Yeah.
and we'll know a lot more. We don't know what's going to
Hopefully
happen.
nothing. Hopefully nothing too crazy happens that
Nothing too
makes this whole
crazy, yeah.
conversation
We're all-
obsolete.
Yeah. So I want to
Oh,
pop
no,
back in.
crazy,
I
man.
want to pop back into the book though, because
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about something very interesting. Is the story of what I love is the crime is being solved. Chelsea's giving birth. Ray and Maddie are flying up. Like all these things, there's such a good climax of information and everything. It's really great.
Well, yeah, they're all coming together. They're all like
Yeah, everything is
all
coming together. Yeah, and the information. So Candace, this character that we've talked about so much so far, she's conned Will, James, Sherrod. Am I saying Sherrod? Is that right?
Sherrod, yeah.
Sherrod, Boudreaux, and they're all so dumb in different ways.
Mhm.
They're guys with more money than sense, obviously, and she is the woman who understands that. And so there's a minute there. Oh, and then there's Will Hirsch. Will Hirsch is another one, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 6 or 7 people that she's Shotzi reveals Will Hirsch.
Oh, I love that character too.
I love Shotzi, and Shotzi's daughter is
about her and her brother.
Pasha. Is it Pasha?
Yeah, Pasha.
Yes. And I love that those people just got thrown in there, and then you get to see Romeo be cool in a completely different way. He's altruistic because he wants Pasha to be a good girl, and obviously Shotzi trusts him, and and he finds out about Will Hirsch that way, who's on house arrest, and he goes and talks to him.
But that was important because from book 1, as you recall, Romeo was the one that was not afraid to go to the streets and listen, whereas all the police officers, there's a continuing, the streets know, but we don't know. The streets know, but we don't know, because nobody talks to us. And Rose like, they can talk to me. They don't have to talk to you. And him and Carter go back and forth about that from book 1, because Carter doesn't want the information from the streets. He's like, he's rejecting because he really just hates that Romeo has the relationship and can do things that he can't do.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, Carter has a lot of jealousy issues that kind of slowly manifest. His envy, kind of. He can't help but reveal his envy a lot, even when it's inappropriate, which is why Toddy shuts him down at a certain point, because she's like, okay, I'm sick of you. You're unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Your envy is ruining the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the time here, and I want to ask Claire, were there any big surprises you wanted to ask about, or choices, or parts that you...
Oh gosh, no, I mean, I think we talked about most of the things that I like noted, and that were impactful and visceral. I mean, yeah, so like I'm trying to think if there's something else. I don't think so, but just in general, like I said before, like I knew it had something to do, you're like, it has to be this stripper, right? It has to be, this, but how? I was just like, I have no idea, but I know I'm just going to be so like, have a nice little brain explosion when it happens. Like, I can't wait for it. And I'm, obviously excited. I was like, reading it on my e-reader, like, no, this is not the end. This is
the I don't know. Okay, spoiler alert right now, but I don't know what was more of a surprise to me. I don't know whether the lawyer Scam was more of a surprise, or the It's Not Her, the body's not her. Both of those were like bam, bam.
Yeah. But it's not
Oh,
that's fucked up because Sherrod really had to be a part of that.
yes. And
That's
it
where
just shows you she
he
got
couldn't
people.
hack it. He threw up in the trash can.
Yeah, Sherrod was the weakest link. Sherrod was the weakest link.
He was the weakest link.
James was the soldier. James Rode. You know, he
Mhm.
wasn't gonna say anything
Yeah.
or whatever, but which was stupid. So then we have to figure out what to do with James in future books, because there's no way he's coming around. There's no way Ray French is gonna let him be around that baby. You know what I mean? There's no way.
Or
Candy.
Levy or Carter. Or
Yeah,
Smack.
nobody's gonna let him come around, but at the same time, he still does have parental rights. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Oh, it's gonna be so messy. And
it's gonna
Candy
be real
Cane,
messy.
Candy Cane and her.
It's gonna be so messy bringing James back into the story. I'm not doing it in book 3. I'm not. I can't.
I'm not even gonna
Because
he'll
I
be in
can't do
jail for a
COVID
while,
quarantine
right?
and James. I can't do.
No, he's just gonna be over there. And
Yeah,
Candy Cane and
yeah.
her magic witchy vajayjay.
Her bewitching, yeah.
Her bewitching, yeah. Magic. Well, no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. She must have something going on, you know? She's got something going on.
She's a charismatic cult leader. You know what I mean?
She's
So
a
she's
charismatic cult leader. Oh my
she
God.
knows how to get what she needs out of people. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many people like that in real life. They've perfected opportunism. They know how to get what they're survivors. Everybody will be dead. They'll still be alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yes. Oh my God. I
I mean,
forgot to
that's
tell
it.
you how much
Miranda don't go
I
to
loved
her.
Kelly Cash. Oh, that was another great twist. I was trying to figure out who, of course I thought the Fontaines hired Kelly Cash. I thought the Fontaines, of course that's who I thought. Like I would never have thought it was Ray. Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
I like that. I like how Kelly Cash was. He wasn't impressed with Chelsea at all. He was just like, you're just some girl from the block. Ain't nobody pay. You ain't got no money. Shut up, girl. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. But he's such an endearing character because I feel like I know enough about him. Right?
Yeah.
I know just enough about him.
Yeah, we're gonna do something with because I kind of laid the groundwork, the foreshadowing of his crush on Toddy and his disdain for Romeo. So because Kelly Cash would be the un-Romeo, you know what I mean? He's the big guy. He's rough around the edges. He's military. You know, Romeo's smart and all this or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it would kind of be like the, you know. But he you could tell he's the kind of guy that would love Toddy right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna treat you good. I'm gonna marry you, girl. You know.
Yeah.
So I haven't. Yeah, I'm still figuring out how to do that, how to put all that together, how I want that to play out or whatever. So
yeah.
You know, these books take a lot of mental time. Like you know, people, what are you doing? It looks like you're doing nothing. Like, no, I'm piecing this together in my head. It just looks like I'm doing nothing, but I'm working really hard right now.
Your own little Chelsea, like.
Yeah, trying to think, you know, so like, can I use that number? Can I use that? Can I, you know, sometimes I read the crime. I read murders, like real murders that happen, because I try to see if there's some gem or jewel or something I can kind of use.
Yeah.
And there was a murder. It's not that I'm not spoiling book 3 at all. It was this guy on my timeline. You know how you have a Facebook friend, but you have no idea where you know this person from?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And those are always the people that as long as they're chill, you don't care. But if they get too extreme any one way, you're like, get out of here. I don't even know you in real life. And you delete them. I didn't delete this man, though. He was in too much pain. Every day for like 2 weeks, he was just posting pictures up like, why'd they take my baby? Look what they did to my baby. And his fiance got murdered. And he was lamenting so much on my timeline. I was like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And I began to investigate his girlfriend's murder. And I was so enthralled by like, what the heck happened to this woman? Because it is a kind of a baffling, and it was in the news and everything. It was kind of a baffling story. And so I used that as a conversation in book 3, because I was like, yeah, you know, when you have an eye for crime, you see crime different. It's not like, you know, my mother watching, it'll be like, this terrible city. And then she'll just move on. I'll be like, but wait a minute, what happened though?
Yeah.
Like, what was she doing there? You know, or whatever. So I kind of have Chelsea on that, where she's just kind of enthralled in the idea of this man lamenting so much pain. And I don't even remember his name, guys, but he was devastated. And he just poured it all into every post for like 2 weeks. It was, everything was just like pain. You could just see the pain, the pain, the pain. And that's what moved me to be even taking interest, because unfortunately in Detroit, crime, people die every day.
Hold on one second.
He was, a real estate office doesn't keep cash. So who would rob a real estate office? Because they made it look like a robbery, and the police were like, it's robbery, homicide. It's like, and he, of course, he's like, she never bothered anybody. She didn't even keep money like that. Like, so he's more or less processing the investigation in his posts. And it was just like, somebody who's a criminologist would definitely be intrigued. Like, well, let's get to the bottom of this one, or whatever. So it's like little stuff like that where I'm like, I can't solve this poor woman's murder, even though by the time I was done reading every article about it, I was devastated myself. It was so tragic. I was looking at pictures of her funeral and everything. And, but I said, but Chelsea can, and that's how I think, like, I can't solve it, but Chelsea can. And then I make a little note like, that might be Chelsea's next case. It's not, but that might be Chelsea's next case, or whatever. So,
I think you can stay
a list of things like that. I have like a notepad.
You can stay in this universe forever. I mean, like, I want to know about Romeo's parents. I want to know about New Orleans. I want to know about the Fontaines in New Orleans. I want to know that series. You can go backwards. You can go sideways. You can bring Olive back. Like,
well, I like to do flashbacks because I like to bring Diane French. I actually regret the fact that Diane French that I killed her off so quickly, because I came to love her after she was dead. And I was like, I really wish I would have just made maybe Ray divorce her, because she's such a great character to me. So now I do flashbacks whenever I want to have a Diane French conversation. I'm like, let's just have Chelsea talk to her mom in her head,
Yes. Oh, that's precious.
Diane is so about it. Diane, she has no filter. She has no chill. And she's just like, she's a Black mama. You know what I mean? She's a Black mama. And so she loved Romeo, and and Diana Rashida wanted Romeo and Chelsea to be together way more than Romeo and Chelsea wanted to be together. So you see, because Diane is gone, you kind of see Rashida. Rashida does not like Lee B at all, because he is not her son. So it's just like, I don't care what he does. He's not my son, or whatever. So Rashida gets a little obnoxious in book 3 with the smothering of the why are you with him kind of thing. But I'm taking care of your baby, so you can't complain. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got to take it, or whatever. And she kind of gets very mom-insky, since I don't have Diane there to do it. I was like, I think I'm going to give this role to Miss Rashida on behalf of Miss Diane to kind of do that or whatever, and be this kind of annoying mom who's getting on these guys. She's telling Carter not to smoke in the house and stuff like that. Like, she's doing what Diane would do if she were there.
Yeah, you can at the end, she's like, I'm gonna have to give them a lecture about drinking around children.
Yeah.
Because Miss Rashida would never, Miss Rashida don't play that, so, she's just, so yeah, it actually, I'm sending off the preview to the editor today or tomorrow, and then I'll be able to drop the preview on the website probably in a few days. So if you guys want to go check that out, it'll be
my gosh, I love it.
The teaser.
Teaser. Crazy work and writing machine.
Yeah, I can't. Once I took a lot of months off because I had planned on finishing book 2 and then immediately starting book 3 because I wanted to stay on the momentum. But then I took a break, and then I was just like, I wrote a script, and I was just like, okay, wait a minute, what I don't want to do is come out of quarantine and not have a complete series. 2 books is not a series to me.
Yeah,
I would like to have 4. At least I can have a shelf, in a bookstore or something where people can. Because they say the trend for books in 2021, they say the series is the ticket. So cool. Get that series, make it legit.
I love it. You could keep this universe going all kinds of ways.
I really need a show or movies.
Oh yeah, that's my pitch. That's my LA pitch. That's what I went to LA for, to pitch Shorty. And every time I talk about it, people I talk about it in the clubhouse. People are like, "Oh my God, that sounds so dope!" But you know how people are; they say that and then they don't buy the book because I can see who buys the book. So it's just like, you made me talk about my book for 10 minutes and then didn't go get my book.
Well, can you buy the second book? Can I buy the book that you gave me?
Yeah, you can buy it at at Amazon.
On
But the
Amazon.
thing,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I'm not doing physical copies because, well, now they're saying digital is the way because of COVID, which is what I predicted. I was like, people aren't going to want to touch books. But I'm gonna tell you who messes
Yeah.
up the game is the people that have to crack the spine people. The I need to crack the spine. It's like, oh, would you just get this e-reader and get on somewhere? And they
Yeah.
want to, so they want a hard copy. So I don't want to keep hard copies. I just don't want to keep them around. And I don't want
You know
to
what? Do you
be
know that there's
responsible for
now,
that.
I used to work software. Hold on. I'm gonna wrap up and then pause the recording and then we'll talk for a second. So thanks so much, Heather and
Thanks for having me,
Claire.
guys. Thank
Oh
you
my
so
gosh.
much.
Go get Maybe Shorty Should Be a Detective, and then immediately go get
Mama's Baby,
Mama's
Daddy's
Baby,
Murder.
Daddy's Murder. And you'll whip through both of them, and then we'll just
And then by the time that's done, we'll
Heather
have,
on.
keep
writing, keep writing, keep writing. And then eventually we'll get to see Corona Lagoon. That is the Barbie soap opera done in front of a green screen that was a piece of fabric with Barbie dolls and an iPhone. I can't wait. And keep listening to Reason Weeds. Bye. Let us know what you're reading. Bye.